I mean, can you talk to us about your lowest point, really? And you know, the point where you felt I just want to go home. You know, I mean, what is it that made you take that extra?
The point where I wanted to go home was 35 days continuously. But I'll talk about my lowest. I'll talk about my lowest point mainly because I have a friend. He was a U.S. Navy SEAL, and you know, as you may know, U.S. Navy SEALs, Special Forces, are very hard entrance selection. And I am writing a book with him, and we have a US agent and a British literary agent, and we've got hopefully a publishing deal coming up. And in fact, the publishing, the agent we got while I was in the North Pole. So, when you were talking about writing a book, I'm slightly, that's what I meant when I'm slightly ahead of you.
Yeah, I need to put all your feelings, your
your exactly. I've got a diary that I was writing, and at some stage we're going to south of France to finish that book, and we may be writing this book.
Even the things that you feel are minor, but they're important for a read and for the history.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially from people from this region who have absolutely no concept of what I was going through. Almost every detail will be informative. And get back to Eamon's question, which I've completely forgotten. The lowest point, yes, there we go. So Dan was telling me that he gave me a call just before I left. He said, "Nabs, you've got to line up your carrots and your sticks." And what he meant by that was, what are your incentives? Why are you doing it? You've got to line up all the reasons before you go, and you've got to line up all the reasons, all the sticks, all the reasons you don't want to fail. You know, for example, I wanted to, you know, why did I want to get to the North Pole? I wanted to get to the North Pole so I could stand here and bore you all. Carrot. Stick, I didn't want to fail because I knew my cousins were all making fun of me, like, Keith is somebody, you know, I know he would give me hell for months if I had failed. So these was carrots and sticks. I had them all lined up. My lowest point was on the last day of leg 2, and we were walking into the wind. It was a blizzard. We couldn't see from here to Rata, or my brother. It was just awful. My goggles kept fogging up, so I couldn't see. And if I took my goggles off to clean them, my eyes would start watering or icing up. So it was just the most awful. And then my GPS. My GPS had gone peak-tom, so I couldn't find out where I was. So I had to follow the people in front of me. Of course, we were going through a rubble field, on top of everything else, and I fell through a crack in the ice. And there is a point where you will see somebody who's fallen through a crack in the ice. The Arctic is just sea, which freezes over, and every now and again some of the ice will break, it'll melt, the ice cap will separate, and then reform, separate, reform, and sometimes when it reforms, it doesn't actually join up together. Oh, really? Perfect timing. There you go. And as you can see, there's fissures in the ice, which fill up with snow rather than freezing up. And as you're walking along, if you're not careful, you can fall into the cracks in the ice. Sometimes the cracks in the ice will be, for example, the height of the ceiling above the sea, and there'll be, for example, there'll be frozen ice underneath. Sometimes you'll go through the ice and it'll be straight away it'll be water, and you never know. And one time on this second leg, on the last day of the second leg, I was absolutely exhausted. I didn't think I had anything left in me, and we were walking into this wind again through this rubble field. We've been doing this rubble field for 8 days. And just so you know, when we finally got to the checkpoint, there was a guy called Steve Pinfield who's lived 25 years in the Antarctic and Arctic. And his whole life is he takes people like Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and really famous people. He takes them to the South Pole and the North Pole. And he was one of our instructors. And when we got to the checkpoint, he was crying. And we thought, oh, that's a bit weird. And afterwards we found out he was crying because he would not have gone out in the conditions that we were going out in. Because it was so naive, we just got up and done it without realizing the conditions we were going in. into were not conditions that we should have been out in. And he was crying because he was surprised that we'd actually survived. And so that day, I fell through a crack in the ice, and my teammates were too far ahead. I couldn't shout into the wind, they couldn't hear me, and I couldn't pull myself out. And as I was struggling to get out, every single muscle was just exhausted, and I just thought, I'm going to relax, and I relaxed, and everything felt so beautiful, because for the first time I wasn't straining myself. And I thought, I'm so tired, I've had so little sleep, 4 hours maybe every night, just so tired, and I just wanted to sleep, and I just thought, I'm just going to relax. And as I was relaxing, I realised, if I fall asleep at this point, I will not get up, there's not going to be any cavalry. I had visions of Han Solo, coming along and rescuing Luke Skywalker, and Yoda telling me to go to Tatooine. This is a bit like Tatooine, isn't it? Anyway, I knew it wasn't going to happen, and at that, for a split second, I was like, I don't care, I just can't, I don't have the muscles, I don't have the strength to do it. And then, actually, what got me out, one of my carrots, or one of my sticks, as I was lying there going, well, I'm just going to, I'm happy that I've made a good attempt at getting to the North Pole, and if I die, I don't mind. And then I thought, oh God, I've got to make a phone call tonight. If I make the phone call, they're going to be annoyed. I've got to get up. And that's what made me get up. And that was the lowest moment. And for the rest of the time, getting into the checkpoint, I was thinking, God, I almost just gave up. I mean, there was no point where I wanted to give up the expedition. There was no point where I said, I don't want to do it, and I was always going to do it. It was just at that point I just thought, I can't do it. I couldn't pull myself out of this ice, out of this hole in the ice, and anyway, it all ended up okay, and I came back fine. So, there we go.